Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Excel Radio's Ask the Expert. Brought to you by Beckshot Photography and Video. It's your story. Make it awesome. For more information, go to beckshot.com. Now, here's your host.
And I'm here today with co-host Robert Mason and our producer Stone Payton. Good morning, guys. Beautiful spring day in Woodstock, is it not?
It is.
It is gorgeous.
Wonderful.
Special guest today, Chris Maier from CCC. He'll explain what that is, what that's all about. Good morning, Chris.
Welcome. Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Let's start with what's CCC?
CCC. So it's courage, conviction, and confidence. No, guys, actually what it is.
That fits.
Those are the morals that we stand behind. We have a lot of culture and energy, but what it actually is the Contractors, Closers, and Connections. You want me to go further into that?
Yep. Well, what I've told everybody is that your group is preeminent commercial real estate,
yes, sir.
Connections and networking. You're just knocking it out of the park compared to all the other networking groups. You're franchising all over the place, making all the money. So why don't you elaborate on what you're all about and what you've been doing, what you've got going on over there?
Yes. So Randall, I started out in the commercial industry of demolition. A lot of people like to see things getting blown up, see all the environmentals getting done.
You don't say.
And that's people like on LinkedIn and social media. It's important to build that brand. And so that's where it all started, is just being dirty, blowing things up, taking down hospitals, wrecking balls, and that sort of stuff. And so in that capacity, you got to work with a lot of end users, developers, municipalities, things of that nature, and master planners. So I took that opportunity to not only work with all the large general contractors under their schedule, but with the real estate, commercial real estate components of the business, and also attended every sort of seminar, conference, and association. And we created the CCC because there wasn't any sort of melding between commercial construction and real estate and all those wonderful entities in between that have a say on the final decision-making process. So that's why we did what we did, created this professional forum about 5 years ago in 2019.
The thing I like about it, at Beckshot, we talk about the whole built environment, right? The design build process, from the project inception, from permitting and design and site selection, all the way through the finished product, whether it's leasing up or whether it's a resale or whatever. And so the thing I liked about CCC was all those people are represented, right?
Yep. They're represented very consciously. I think that's a big part about what we do. There's a lot of wonderful brokerage associations. They may have some that are specific to retail, industrial, office, but there's really never been an organization that has put checks and balances in place operationally on the back end to curate an audience that has the 5 verticals that we now know as our identity, which is development, investment, management, brokerage, and construction. So where we settle at a chapter when it becomes more evolved is, like in Atlanta, is 85-15 principles. So the majority, 85%, is actually commercial real estate. Like you said, 15% is the built environment. We can have architects, engineers, people like yourself that offer all sorts of services to assist in that overall decision-making process and value add to projects and future developments in leasing and landlord and tenant rep and investment sales. And it's just it's a wonderful environment that's never really been seen before, whether it's you need equity, debt, all that sort of stuff you can find at CCC.
Now, you don't have any exposure to residential. You're strictly commercial.
There's some agents and brokerages that might have a dip into both worlds, but it's meant to be commercial real estate. That's our brand.
Now, tell me about all these franchises you're opening up. You got groups opening in Dallas and Nashville and where all?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So most immediate on the docket, we currently have 10 chapters. So it started with Atlanta in 2019. Now we're on our 10th, which is Memphis. So we've got Florida, we got Texas, we got South Carolina, North Carolina, and it's all been organic. That's what the beautiful thing has been. We're just following where these primary markets and the United States is going with commercial real estate development and demand, people moving in, single family, industrial, retail, mixed use, and all those wonderful things that follow behind one another. So we're in talks. We just had a national call with New York City and people in Manhattan. We got folks we just flew in from Philadelphia. We had folks we flew in from Denver. We're in talks with Charleston, Jacksonville. So we got at least 5 more that we're really hoping to have 15 by the end of the year 2023, moving into 24. And they're licensed chapters. We find great people that are on the ground that can be our boots. And typically we like to have those two sides of the field. We have construction professionals and real estate. So they can pool in their resources, their networks, and we bring them all together and do what we've done in Atlanta. And we typically have to ship them out here first, because if we told them what we're talking about today and they hadn't seen it, they're not going to know what to create. They won't see the magic and feel the energy.
Right. So what would be an example of a group of folks that you'd be looking for to be a franchise?
Yeah, some of our organizations are started by a brokerage, which have been wonderful. Some have been started by a general contractor or an owner's representative. Scott was actually our first licensed location in Tampa, and he found us, introduced himself to me in the middle of a pandemic. And he's managing a 200-acre automotive enthusiast development. It's mixed use. It's got a track. It's called the Motor Enclave down in Tampa. He's an ex-Marine, very disciplined, great man. And he said, I've been watching what you've been doing in Atlanta. It looks high energy. It looks genuine. There's no sort of forum like this in Tampa, and I want to run it. So it starts on an individual's heart and passion. And if I have that, I can work around them, and we can bring attorneys, we can bring debt equity brokers, that sort of thing, to create what our environment is and make it nice and finely balanced, that sort of thing. And from the corporate perspective, we're helping out with branding, marketing, keeping everything, in alignment on the websites and social media, things like that, and in person.
When you got into commercial real estate side of that, what was the evolution like there? Describe that early on.
That was the hardest part, right? Because the hardest thing is building trust. I call phase 1 establishing the company back in 2019. Who are we? Why are we doing what we're doing? What is our value, right? Where is our energy? People had to literally come to the events to see it, and then they perpetuated it via social media. Phase 2 has been really what I see in the last 2 to 3 years. It's been evolving the decision makers. It's not just folks in leasing or analysts crunching numbers or, folks in the office sector. It's got to be like, hey man, we need the development directors. We need directors of construction, acquisitions professionals, principals of the firm, things like that. So if we don't have the deal makers in the room, it's really hard for the brokers and everybody else to synergistically work out, hey, where's the capital coming from? Where's the stack? So that was the hardest part, is just building trust. And now we've retained them. Now we have over 20,000 contacts we can reach out to actively in the Atlanta area in construction, real estate, architecture, and bring them out to our events, which typically bring 300 people plus to a function.
When you're evaluating folks, are you looking for a certain value add? What, 10 million, 20 million? Do you have a press up that you're looking for?
Usually there's a 3-step process to that. So step 1 is, who is the individual? What firm are they with, rather? So they could be with a multifamily manager ownership group of apartment units. And it's like, all right, check. And that's point 1. Point 2, well, what is their position in the company? Are they an acquisitions director? Are they an associate? Are they managing principal? What do they do? Right. So, and then part 3, my favorite, because we could look into points like that, but it's mainly based off the credibility of the firm and what they've done in the past and sort of name recognition in the community. Part 3 is their energy, right? Are they coming and are they bringing this energy of reciprocity and a go-giver servant leadership type of mindset? Like, how can we help each other? We want to do more deals. That means you've got to give us some of the off-market stuff, Mr. Broker, and that's how we can all play synergistically. But if people aren't coming to the table with that, it's not good.
Right. Okay.
All right. So Robert touched on a question. He said, why? And we all know why is the big question for Beckshot. So tell me why you decided to do this kind of thing. You were in a demolition contractor, right?
Yeah.
And looking at opportunities. Why this?
Well, I thought it served a higher purpose. I think I also worked at a mid-sized general contracting company. I figured this was a way to help a multitude of people. And I just started going to a bunch of associations and hearing the same sort of objections. And man, we really wish an association or some type of forum existed that gave back to the community, that still cared about, others and all sorts of causes that we can now help and benefit. But it just, nothing existed, and there's people that love us and there's people that hate us because it's not everybody's organization. It's not meant really for the junior. It's not meant for children to come in here and it's not an internship opportunity. We want people sort of like you were saying, like at least 2 years experience in brokerage and things like that. We vet that process and we're constantly evolving, cutting the fat, evolve, move forward to have, the elite private events of the industry.
So you're seeing all the real players.
We want the players,
actual players.
Yeah.
Let's convene the big brain club for a minute here. MBA type people. Talk to me about trends. What are you seeing in the commercial real estate market in Atlanta that's hot or that must be noted, whether it's a good or a bad thing?
Yeah. I just got off the phone with some of our people on our board of directors today, and they're having trouble in the debt markets right now. A lot, especially smaller deals, because it's just as hard to go out for the larger deals, the 100 million, 50 million plus. And these guys are looking for stuff that's under 10 million, under 5 million, some of these, subdivision developments and multifamily, mid-rise. And it's just tough with the way our economy is. So having relationships, is now more important than ever, and the trend of this whole chat GPT and AI and all that stuff. Our motto is making business personal again. So there's a trend to get out of the office and to move away from culture. That's not our culture. People always say, well, as this is important to note as well, CCC is not membership based. So what does that allow us to do? It allows us to move past the traditional association that are local here in Georgia. And if I'm being generous, they stop at 1,000 to 1,500 members, and they put people's information on the back of some website and they call that a value prospect, right? Why would you put people's information on the back of some website? That's private. And these are the players, like you said. They don't want their information broadcasted. So we're different. We're blasting past that 1,500 mark again into the 10,000, 20,000 people. And I've got a team that just prospects information and new opportunities. So it's always fresh and novel.
Okay. And, building and development trends, what's going on with spec office? What's going on in retail?
So there's a bunch going on still strong in industrial, I guess, just to pick on one sector. Usually what we do is we've got a board full of boutique hospitality, mixed use, petroleum based industrial cold storage developers. And it's booming. There are certain markets in Denver and Arizona and really all the places that we have a CCC that are doing tremendously well. And I'm seeing a lot now, and I'm hearing a lot regarding reuse, right? Adaptive reuse. There's a bunch in that trend right now. Creative office, where you're taking old gas stations and turning them into co-working. Yeah. Kind of like this place we're in, a bunch of things like that. So, it's again, going back to the whole inception of debt markets, equity placements, things like that, where the interest rates are where they are. You have to be creative with redevelopment plays,
So COVID changed the game in the commercial real estate in a big way, in my opinion. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, Randy. I'm seeing shopping center space become, it's dark. People aren't going to the malls as much. People are ordering online. Amazon's doing incredible. I'm seeing a lot of office parks with a lot of empty space. My wife's company in particular, that's tied with NASDAQ, they've given up a couple of floors, and that seems to be the trend. And there's a lot of speculation on what's going to happen with all of this commercial space that's sitting empty.
Well, my brother works for Ethicon. It's a J&J company, right? Big subsidiary of J&J. They literally, their goal is to reduce their leasehold and their employees in the office by half.
They're brick and mortar holdings.
They're cutting in half, and they're basically saying half you're going to work from home, and we're going to convert our office to shared space, and you can come in and do the ad hoc meeting. That's
and they're not building banks anymore. I just noticed that. I talked to the guys who built Chase Banks.
Why would they? You do it all online now.
Yeah,
exactly. You go in there like, you came in for an appointment. Get out of here. Why are you here?
We don't want to talk to you, buddy.
Send me a picture of your check.
Just mail me your money. Well, the apps, that is, right? It's like a picture of the check and it has OCR.
Well, I had to go in for like a money transfer. It had to be electronically done through the person there. And they just look at you like you're crazy nowadays.
So all these buildings are going empty. Clearly the leaseholders there's going to be a shuffle, right? They're going to want to renegotiate their space. And now some of your B tenants can move. Oh, I can get a deal on A space, so I'm going to move up. And then the C's are going to move up to the B's. Yeah. So you know what's going to happen. We're going to hollow out at the low end, the lower tiers of office space and retail space.
It's going to create opportunity, Randy. We're going to see some things out there. There's going to be some plays. Yes. And investors that I represent are asking me about, hey, what's the deal with the commercial real estate aspects? And I'm saying, wait for your pitch because it's going to be available. Prices are coming down. These landlords, and see, these are smart folks who own commercial real estate, right? These are no dummies. Whether it's in, stock portfolios or whatnot and REITs, like we talked about, they're going to figure it out, right? They're going to repurpose shopping centers to be entertainment spaces, whether it be concert venues or condos with retail on the bottom. They're going to figure something out.
I was talking to, I think it was Michael Bull a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And, Michael, and he was actually saying that retail was at least in his experience or in his exposure is doing well because all these people that have left their jobs, right? The work from home crowd, some of them are starting businesses and they're taking small retail space and they're filling up all these neighborhood centers, with their new entrepreneurial ventures. And I imagine that we'll see a lot of that.
When the dot-com collapse happened in 2000, those were a lot of middle managers that work for a lot of big companies, right? Mm-hmm. These were not dummies, right? And when they got their pink slips, they didn't just go home and jump on, the dole. They went out and they did things. They created businesses. We're going to see a revival of that kind of mentality, I think.
And that is exciting. You're right. It's an opportunistic time where a bunch of stuff is going to be left on the table. Sellers aren't going to get what they want right now. They can command what they can command, but who knows what things might be like in the next 6 to 8 months. It's people are holding on to a lot of cash right now.
Right. Which is a good thing.
Yes.
No, we did a segment recently with Robert on investment properties, on particularly like Airbnb, short-term rental type things. Mm-hmm. And, Robert had some ideas on hot areas or hot trends. So now let's take somebody out there that might be listening to us, a business type person who wants to invest and put some capital into commercial real estate. What do you think's hot for them? Where should they be looking?
In commercial real estate? Mm-hmm. So there are some great opportunities that one of our board members had put out there. It was a HUD deal with a locked in 4% interest rate for 30 years fixed. In Arlington, Texas, Class A, 358 units that was just built in 2021. Deals like that with a good sponsor team that's putting in 20% of their own money. It sort of checks all the boxes. It's on a golf course. Again, it goes back to the relationships and these private offerings, whether you're an accredited investor or not, getting in on some of these LP deals if it's one of your first time and you're not going to get a GP share. Perhaps if you have the capital, you could. But I think in multifamily is going to keep going strong with the way the interest rates are. They're going to keep fixing them up even if there's a little bit of value add. And they can raise this particular opportunity I looked in last week, 96% occupancy. So they can raise the rents easily, and and they're based on a 5-year sell refinance. So.
That's funny that you just said that you've got that high occupancy so they can raise the rents.
Yeah.
With with Harley's Hideaway, this cottage that I've got at Big Canoe, because we're so occupied, our occupancy is so high, we're raising the daily rate that we can get, and it actually works.
Yeah.
I get pushback from my wife, but she said
that worked for me too.
It works.
Raising my rent.
Yeah.
It got me. So, all right, very quickly, plug your short-term rental, Harley's Hideaway.
Harley's Hideaway, Big Canoe, great cottage on Lake Sconty on the golf course.
All right, we're Daisy's downtown, 1 mile from Mercedes-Benz in downtown Atlanta in the Pittsburgh neighborhood. Up and coming. You should see all the building going on there. Chris, yours?
Yes, Stargazer Hideaway in Clayton, Georgia, right off 441 next to the Visitor Center of Clayton. Hook a right next to Moonrise Distillery, right up the mountain.
All right.
You said Mountain. I was going to ask if that's Mountain. I don't know Clayton, Georgia.
Yep. Yeah. It's about an hour, 15 minutes north of Atlanta. And it's got a wonderful little town with shops and wonderful mountain town. Gorgeous. Yep. Yeah. It's a secret.
I've seen your website, the photos of your place. It's real nice.
Yeah. A lot of people ask about the LJs and the Blue Ridge and stuff. We're sort of the path less traveled, and there's a stipulation on how much forestry authority that there is. So it determines how much residential can be built or not built. So it's really nice. There's not too much residential being built. There's a cap on it.
How long have you owned that property?
2 years. Built it during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
New construction.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Robert, you're a former commercial broker. So let's put your commercial broker hat on for a minute. How would you have benefited from having a CCC in your life?
Holy smokes. Well, I've been doing it for so long, I had less gray hair back then and a lot less experience. I think the coordination value, to be able to focus energies where they were going to be most advantageous. A lot of times in the commercial real estate world, we're just frantically knocking on doors, trying to get new product, trying to get new centers to represent, whether it be commercial, retail, industrial, whatever. We're looking for land. That would be a real big benefit for somebody like me to be able to look for land for development. Because development now is huge. We're looking for land, and we're like California. We're moving out. I mean, the epicenter is just getting further and further out. So just to be able to focus on finding what we need for the parties that we're representing.
Yeah. And not to sound pompous or anything, but it's having us at the back front. Cause we're not just, there are people who run their organizations when, again, they reach that 1,500 member and it's just account maintenance mode. It's some 16-year-old that doesn't know what they're talking about. But us and our entire leadership, we're all in the trenches, So I'll give you a story. The other day, one of our board of directors members, he's in more or less the ground up hotel hospitality business between here and Greenville. And I said, how can we help you through the CCC? What is your most immediate need? And I thought he was going to say, hey, find us sites for, hospitality. But he said, no, we'd actually like more of an investment sales opportunity and like a retail strip center that's cash flowing. I got some 1031 money we need to insert into that. And we knew exactly who the best investment sales guy is in Atlanta. And less than a week later, we had a deal, right? So that's the value, is like saying, you have to be very specific with your needs. Like, hey, we have a wonderful cold storage site, and we'd like to build something spec. Do you have a developer and the best architect in industrial real estate that can build it and entitle it and do this, that, and the other and design it? Sure, we can.
So putting all of these people and parcels into place.
Yes.
It's able to focus attention where it needs to go, correct?
Yes. And, I have a pretty exciting breakfast that's coming up at one of the coolest mixed-use developments with Bridge Investment Group and Lincoln Property Company in September. And our thought behind that is to bring in all the sort of elected official people, all the CIDs, community improvement districts, and economic development. So you can find out what's going on in South Fulton, Covington, Gwinnett, Forsyth, and you hop basically from table to table. The landlord reps are gaining, the tenant reps are gaining knowledge, and that person saying, well, here's what public and private partnerships we have going on. Here's an industrial park in which we have this much availability for healthcare users, and we'd like to see like a 40,000 square foot sort of building there. Like, it could be so collaborative, but nobody's curating that experience to bring value to the community. Not very often.
No, it was unheard of to be able to put those pieces. It's like a big puzzle.
Yes.
How do you put the puzzle together? Here's the puzzle maker right here.
That's right.
For any entrepreneur, obscurity is the problem, right?
Yeah.
And in commercial, the pieces can be so fragmented that people are obscure, right? You don't know who to talk to. They don't know how to reach you.
No.
And so this is a good lead in now, because at a CCC event, you can walk right up and talk to these guys. So let's talk about the character of your events here.
Oh, yes.
When you do something, what's happening, right? Like you the last one you did at the beautiful showroom had the model. Mm-hmm. Now you're doing a Kentucky Derby later this week.
Yes.
Now let's talk about your events.
Again, I think it all comes down to an energy and a culture, one of reciprocity, because it goes back to me 7-10 years ago when I didn't have a network, but I still believed in the American dream and the entrepreneur and the fact that, a few people can make a difference. And what I mean by that is even when I didn't have a network and somebody said, well, Chris, I'm really looking to meet, industrial users or multifamily developers. And I'm like, look, I'll be honest with you. I don't have the network, but I know that the civil engineer, that's really all he does is these Home Depots, and that's all they do their civil engineering and site plans and whatnot for. Perhaps that would be an advantageous introduction. Now the coin is flipped. Now that I have the contacts, it's sort of irresponsible for me not to help people. And that's what we want other people to realize. Like you said, is putting the puzzle together. It's one of which people are, like you said, we don't want the ambiguity to be there. What do you do? How can we help each other? Like we want to try to bridge that gap.
It seems to me that this idea would be useful in all environments. I'll give you for an example. A doctor goes to med school, gets out when he's 35 years old. He knows all about medical and biology and all this stuff. He doesn't know anything about creating a business. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know how to staff. He doesn't know how to set up sources. I mean, your business could be for any different industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have, to your point, I mean, I go to a bunch of these international conferences and just ask the people from North Rhine-Westphalia or Africa or wherever they're coming from, and they're wanting to do business in the United States. It's like, guys, view the CCC as a soup to nuts, enterprise that can help you staff with your manufacturing, with your healthcare, with your IT, with your electric vehicle charging stations, because we have just enough and the right trusted, vetted vendors that can help, whether it's Boones Ridge, Kentucky or, California, we can help people all across the nation if they want to invest in real estate or, ground up, if they want to partner up on some hotel venture, really it's endless.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the drawbacks in the networking world, I mean, there's other groups out there and I've been to a few of them, and you see the same crowd of people showing up, and some of them are just there for the social event and the party, and they take a bunch of selfies and they go home, and that's their marketing.
The free drinks.
Yes.
This is not what you're doing.
Right.
You have not only do you have high class events in
the themed
venues that relate to commercial real estate.
Yes.
And that's good. I mean, it's a great way to meet people. But you have a series, you have layers, different types of events, right? So kind of run through what your offerings are for us.
Yeah. So there's a variety of different value add propositions we try to do. Nowadays we have the authority. I just reached out to North American properties today about the, Peachtree Corners forum that they're redeveloping, because there's going to be a bunch of opportunity there for the commercial real estate and construction professionals to come out and lend value. And really, I view this game as one of a magnifying glass. If you're not under that spotlight, under that magnifying glass, and your property is not in vision and you're not top of mind, people aren't going to know about it. So that's why we host events such as our one in June coming up with Ackerman and Company, one of Atlanta's oldest, if not the oldest brokerage firms.
That's who I started with in 1991.
Good people. I think they're the oldest.
Charlie. Is he still around?
I'm not sure. Okay. I don't know Charlie there.
He was the owner, Charlie Ackerman.
Yeah. No, I don't know him personally though. We're hosting an event with them though to show off 90,000 square foot of a creative office that they have at the Lee and White site downtown. So, we're putting events together with purpose, so that they can drive the attention to that development.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
It goes back to, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And so if these people don't know that there's resources out there like you, then, they're kind of lost in the wind, and you hit on it with the micro, you put the scope on it and it's going to magnify it, and then people are going to know.
Yeah. I mean, I know a gentleman right now and we're doing a lot of curation, not only at the event, we're sort of leading people's hand into it. It kills me when I see somebody right behind Randell and it's like, that's the ultimate person he needs to be speaking to right now to further his business, because I know they probably just asked. There was a instance the other day. We just formed a national partnership with a commercial valuation appraisals company, and they're doing these, they're out of our Phoenix branch, and they're offering appraisals and valuations for half the cost typically of what most of our vendors are that don't even know me by a first name basis. And they're doing it quicker. Sometimes it could take weeks for these appraisals and whatnot, and they're doing it in a matter of days, if not one day. So we formed that, and we're adding these national partnerships to help people not only in Atlanta but across the country.
Well, I think you need a cattle prod to hit Randy here up with when there's somebody behind him.
Yeah.
To speak with. Give him a little electrocution.
That's right.
I mean, from what you're describing to me, Chris, I mean, there's so many entities that I know of firsthand that I could call today and say, you need to talk to this guy, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're pretty diverse. We certainly didn't want to come off as like the jack of all trades. That's why we really are special. Like, if we're getting 50 lenders that want to come to CCC, different banks on the institutional side, we'll cut them off and say, no, we're good. Like, we've got enough, like 30, 40 architects. That's too much,
right?
You know, so that's where we're really watching who is coming into this event. Because if it's not curated properly, it's not CCC. It's just something else, but it's not us.
You get 50 realtors in the same room. It's just kind of like an overkill and you're.
Yeah, we want the money. We want the people taking risk. We want the people to find the deals. And then we want some people to also help, you know, if they need a fees. I met with an architect the other day, and again, I'm asking them that question, real like down to the point type of stuff. That's my personality. And I'm like, all right, give me something here. What can I work with? And like, well, we just did a feasibility study where a developer of a hotel could come in on this particular site. I'm like, now we're talking. All right. So, but a lot of these architects and engineer types don't know how to play ball like that. They don't speak the real estate language, but we're teaching them.
Yeah. Diversity of thought.
Yes.
They need the real estate aspect. That's just not where they function.
Yeah. They keep hitting up these end users and whatnot and going after the RFPs. And it's like, what if it was just negotiated?
Yeah.
Right. Like, let's talk that.
Well, you get a room full of 50 attorneys. Golly, that's going to be a boring event.
The other day, you guys will find this funny. I was in an antique store the other day, and there's a book laying on this counter for sale. And it was the original feasibility study from an architect for Marietta Square.
Yeah, wow. That'd be interesting.
Back when you had to put photos on the page, you glue them down, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they're using the old
You're doing hand trap accounts.
Yes, click,
14,
click.
Yeah,
15.
it was really interesting to see, you know, speaking of that kind of thing, how different the reality was than the original concept.
Right.
You know.
That's cool.
And of course I see stone, you know, pretty often. You see why I'm always showing up with blood and bandages right after hanging out with these guys.
Yeah. The minute you said
It's cattle prods, you know.
The minute he said antique, I was like, wait, you are an antique.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
Is it a book about yourself?
Speak for yourself.
He signed it.
I might be older.
I'm only 37. This comes from dealing with you. So Chris, before we run out of time, a couple of, you know, things to promote for CCC. What's your vision? Where's CCC going next?
So we want the business professional in commercial real estate and construction to be able to go to various cities throughout the U.S. We want to be in every 50 states, you know, and there are some successful associations that are well known in construction real estate, and they're in about 80. So I'm on the right track. And with our brand growing the way that it is and the systems and operations that we have in place that are just essentially a better mousetrap, you know, we want to grow quickly. We make turning the ignition and starting a chapter and licensing with us very simple. And we're getting better and better and better at opening them and people seeing the credibility and purpose beyond what we're doing. So that would be the idea, is to be in first all the primary markets. We want to get all the way coast to California. We're already as far as Dallas and Phoenix. Again, we got to hit New York. We got to get Philadelphia and Denver, so that it's a pretty good chance if you're going out to a conference or something, or you're just, you know, out of town for a week and you want to stop by a local CCC or get instantaneously connected to that chapter's leadership of brokers and developers and whatnot. Just reach out to us and we'll connect you to Cincinnati or Philly or whatever.
And again, it's going to get back to knowing what you do.
Yeah.
And people don't know what they don't know. So you've got to get out there and brand yourself and market.
And I'll be honest with you, the tough thing about the name of our company, the acronym, Contractors, Closers, and Connections, like, it connotates more construction. So people are a little bit confused, and it's unfortunate, but it is easy to remember. CCC, we didn't want to be the International Federation of Commercial Construction and, sound extremely professional, and we wanted it to connotate, the fact that we're a little bit more laid back. In our events, like you mentioned, they're genuine, they're high energy. We typically don't go to a stuffy hotel conference room with drop ceilings and carpets. That's not us. So we're bringing people out to interesting, genuine, sort of environments they've never been to before. And that's what we wanted to connotate. So we're putting out a bunch of branding on video and digital to get to those new chapters, because Atlanta's already established. We want to bring that same flag to other people and just shorten that time from A to B of understanding who we are and what the value is.
I know a really, really good video guy.
Yeah.
Now, you're going almost where I want to ask next, because let's face it, there are groups that in the construction, in the commercial real estate industry, BOMA, ULI, people like that.
Yes.
That foster education.
Yes.
Relationships, best practices, thought leadership, in the industry. So how is CCC different from, say, a ULI?
So, we want to leave a bunch of that to the organizations who do that best. We want to leave the continued education, the award ceremonies, people coming up on stage, getting a plastic trophy for the most energy efficient building. That's great. Like, we're boiled down deal makers, right? We're here black, white, very simple. We want the best of the best people, and we want everybody to win. It's not just about one person's participation trophy. Awesome. It's about let's win.
That's an awesome way to differentiate yourself. And in terms of the people involved with you, who do you need? Who are you looking for? What's the big need or the big
the short answer is just really, people ask me this all the time, but it's just, if somebody is really in the trenches, they're wheeling and dealing and touching commercial real estate, right? You could be a zoning attorney. You could be a civil engineer. You could be the developer themselves, the development team, the owner's rep, the city, all those sorts of wonderful individuals that play into that unique ecosphere that we mentioned. People of that nature is who we want. Brokerages. Yeah.
All right. If some of those people are out there and they've heard about you, or maybe they've been to one of your events and they're not quite sure what to do next, you had one thing you could say to them, what would that thing be?
Come on out. Hey, we'll get you a complimentary ticket to feel the energy and test it out for yourselves, and spend some time with you on the phone to get a better idea for what y'all do and how we can best serve you at CCC. And you can check us out at our website, which is www.contractorsclosersconnections.com.
It flows very well off his tongue.
Chris Maier, everybody, from CCC.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out today.